This is Private Matters. I am Max van Praag, and Private Matters wants to inspire people all around the world to have happier and healthier relationships. It wants to inspire people to make new choices. We are speaking here with authors, with therapists, with couples, with single people who have unusual experiences and journeys to share. My guest today is Dossie Easton, author of many books, in particular of the book The Ethical Slut that we are featuring today. Welcome to the show, Dossie.
Thank you.
You wrote this book a long time ago, right?
The first edition was published in 1997.
This was your first book?
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't?
The Bottoming book was our first book.
The Bottoming book was your first book.
Mm-hmm.
Would you comment on the word ethical in the title?
Well, for many people, the concept of an ethical slut is an oxymoron, right?
Yes.
They think of slut, they think of having no ethics.
Yes.
And I think of slut as celebrating sexuality, and the importance is that we are free to do that when we are aware of our ethics, when we honor and respect all the people that we partner with in our explorations, when we care about not only our own feelings, but our partner's feelings and their partner's feelings, because all the people involved start being a lot more than just the two people or three or four in the bed at the time. Part of this is to say that we're going to just treat everybody involved with respect, that their feelings are important. For instance, if I acquire a lover who has a life partner who is not me, and that person is kind of nervous about my becoming part of her family, say, then I will make a point of connecting with that person. I'll make a point of finding out what she needs. I'll make a point of knowing what her boundaries are so I can respect her boundaries, much as I respect the boundaries of her partner that I partner with, that I date sometimes or whatever, right? And I have made a lot of very good friends with people who were initially quite scared of me.
How did you do that?
Oh, by caring about them.
By caring about them.
By being concerned about them and by treating them with respect. And in particular by honoring their relationship. If we are sharing a lover, even someone who is not a primary partner has a relationship with someone I have a relationship with.
Yeah.
So it all works better if we all honor that and respect each other. Slut. To me, a slut is a person who celebrates sexuality.
Wow, let's hear that again. A slut is a person who celebrates sexuality.
Who celebrates sexuality, perhaps in many forms, perhaps in many adventures, perhaps with whatever number of partners, but who approaches sexuality in an explorative, adventurous, and celebratory manner. I
like saying that it can also be with one partner.
Yeah, it can be with one partner,
doesn't have to be
indeed.
Promiscuous or polyamorous. It's a embracing of the sexuality.
Absolutely. Besides which, I can be many different people with one partner.
That's right. So this is your message,
yes,
to men and women: embrace your sexuality. Is that your message?
Yes, absolutely.
How have people responded to the title of your book? Have you been criticized, and what has happened?
Mostly, even if we're on like some radio show in Oklahoma or whatever, people call up and say, "I want to be an ethical slut. I like that idea." And so the title has been very well received. Its audience is people who want their sexual freedom, who have a vision of a more expanded world that they can have in their sexuality. And this book is a guidebook to some of the practical things you need to know to make that possible in your life.
And the most basic thing I would say is in having explored this topic my whole life and having interviewed many people is that it's all about choice. You choose
absolutely.
to be a slut, to be a goddess, to be a doormat, to be whoever you want to be, whatever is a worthwhile exploration of your psyche and your sexuality in that particular relationship.
Yeah.
It's
I would rather
choice.
be a slut goddess.
A slut goddess.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so whatever role, and we're talking also about erotic role play, since you are
Yes,
also an
absolutely.
expert about that. Erotic role play is a fun way of exploring your sexuality and taking on roles. And sometimes people say, well, this is really a horrible thing to play master slave. So many people in the world have been doomed and have been victimized by slave. We're not talking about history and war and slavery. We're talking about role play, erotic role play, which is something very different.
Right, exactly. We're talking about roles that people explore.
Yes.
Because they want to.
Because they want to. And that's also...
So people, I can, for instance, in a relationship, explore surrender. And then I can get up and go to work and be a therapist. And then I can tell my master, would he please wash the dishes before I get back? Because I'd like to cook something nice for dinner. I mean, there's no reason.
You tell your master what to do.
That I'd like him to wash the dishes before I come back, because I'd like to be able to cook something nice.
Okay.
So there's no reason why not. There's no reason why a power exchange relationship needs to be have some very fixed rules and roles. Only if you choose them. Only if you choose them.
No, I'm totally with you on that, but I'm a little wondering if you have it mixed up, if you're telling your master what to do.
Well, yes. I may agree to surrender to some fabulous scene. That doesn't mean I want to wash all the dishes.
No, but he is not the master in that moment, I guess.
Maybe not. It depends on how we see ourselves.
Okay, how you agree. Okay.
Yeah, it depends on how we agree, whatever we choose.
Okay.
Anybody who thought that was insulting to say, would you please wash the dishes before I get back, would be a person I would not want to play with. If they think their dominance, whether they're male or female doesn't really matter. If they think their power is contingent on never doing anything useful or never being helpful or never being asked to do something, that's kind of foolish.
Well, what most people, how most people see submissive is somebody who obeys orders, and
I
so
said surrender. I didn't say submission.
Okay, and if you are a switch, or if you take on both roles, then there is a time. Yes, there's different times for different things.
No, what I'm saying is we don't do the housework in role.
Okay.
Whatever I was.
Okay.
But I am not. I do surrender, and I do sometimes submit, but I am not a submissive, nor am I a dom.
Okay.
I am a person.
Yes.
Sometimes I dominate people. Sometimes I submit. Sometimes I surrender. Sometimes I throw them onto the bed and assault them. Consensually, of course. All of this is choices. They are things we do. I am not an anything. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
I think that we should be careful about nouns and adjectives in these things.
Mm-hmm.
I am doing something. I am not the something I am doing.
And it changes, it fluctuates.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
In terms of this book, which I think is where we need to focus, isn't it?
Let's focus.
I don't know if we are here more to talk about polyamory or about SM.
We are talking about
separate categories.
the whole picture, about the book, about you, about your current. You wrote this a long time ago. Maybe you are doing different things right
No,
now.
I have not been. I decided in 1969 that I would never be monogamous again. And I have not.
Okay.
Well, moment to moment, but...
So what would you like the viewers to know about the book?
I guess I'd like them to know that they can have the freedom they want to explore sexuality any way they want. And had I known you were interested, I would have brought the other books. Evidently, you didn't know that they existed. What I want is a sex-positive world where people are free to express their full range of possibility, be the biggest person they can be the most they can be in the sexual realm. And even if I am doing something like surrender, I am being still the most I can be in that department. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I want there to be room, and I would like to see a society that didn't have this kind of one-size-fits-all ideal about what a relationship ought to be, or what marriage ought to be. I think there are 1,000 different ways, maybe thousands and thousands of different ways that people can do relationship.
True.
And I turn it into an active verb.
That's why we're doing this show.
Yeah, that people can build relationships. And I personally would like to see our society affirm all of them and get out of this idea that the ideal, the gold card, the best thing is this one kind of relationship over here.
I imagine some people may be asking the question, what about love in this conversation? So,
well, this frees me to love a lot of people, doesn't it? It frees me to love in a lot of different ways. I do think it's about love. I mean, I think that there is relationship even if I play with someone at a party, that I'm connecting with that person and having whatever that relationship is. One thing I learned quite a few years ago when I was first volunteering with San Francisco Sex Information,
yes,
was that, which is in the early 70s, and singles bars had just started happening then. It was kind of interesting. Well, there had been pickup bars all along, but fern bars were new then. And there seemed to be this sort of, the tribal custom seemed to be that you went to the bar and you hooked up with somebody, you went home with them, you had sex, and when you woke up in the morning, if you didn't foresee becoming a couple, then it was all very embarrassing and you could never speak to them again. That it either had to be only a one-night stand, only sport fucking, or it had to be lifelong commitment.
Sport fucking.
Yeah.
Didn't know the word.
I probably made it up. You knew what it meant,
yes,
though, when you heard it.
I knew what it meant, yes.
And so I discovered at San Francisco Sex Information, getting an extended family of people who talked about sex all the time like me, that we could have friendships that include sexuality, that we could have all these different kinds of relationships.
Yes.
I teach workshops in Europe pretty much every year, different countries and different cities. And now I have a series of lovers over there. I might have one date a year with them.
Would you describe something you do in your workshop that gives people an idea of how you teach? What is an example of an exercise or something?
Well, one of the things that's new about this book, and when you read it you'll see it, is I have included a bunch of exercises that I give. I'm a therapist in private practice, and I give my clients exercises as homework. So they're all included in here. How do you negotiate consent? How do you work through a conflict? How do you... what would happen if you wrote a letter to yourself from your jealousy?
Oh, this is the kind of assignments
yes.
you give.
I have a big background in Gestalt and also in shamanism. In workshops, one of my favorite workshops is to, talk some about polyamory and get some of the intellectual basis there, and then do a shamanic journey where we imagine going down into the earth. Maybe
like a meditation.
Yeah, right. And usually down in a spiral, something or other. And we find a place there. It could be a room, it could be a cave, it could be a grove of trees. It doesn't really matter. Whatever we find. There might be water in it, a stream, a pool, a puddle. And in walks our jealousy. In walks my jealousy. What does my jealousy look like? What is it wearing? What colors does it like? And I ask my jealousy, what are you doing in my personal ecology? What's your job here? What are you trying to accomplish?
Mm-hmm.
And my jealousy says, whatever it says. For me, it might be I'm trying to protect you from your own insecurity. And we have a conversation. Always with the assumption that the jealousy has a place in there, a motivation, something it's trying to accomplish. And then what I instruct the workshop participants to do, and what I do, is say, okay, so this is your jealousy standing in front of you. You're having this conversation, which is now ending. Is there anything you want to thank your jealousy for? Is there anything your jealousy wants to thank you for? Now it's time to go back up to the surface, up your spiral, staircase, or path, or whatever it is. And you have to bring your jealousy with you because it's part of you. You can't just leave it down there below the earth. So you have to find a place inside you where you're going to welcome that jealousy. And we can do this with anger. We do this with a lot of any part.
It's about accepting and embracing all the parts.
Yes.
Yes.
My favorite is an exercise in Tantra where we're working in pairs. And usually we've changed partners, so it could be anybody they're sitting with. It could be a stranger. It could be someone of a gender or a nature that they would not normally get close to.
Yes.
And I say, okay, let's explore our precious inner beasties. I did this for the first time in London. It was really interesting.
Do you actually do you let them move around on all fours as animals on the floor?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And then two guys who were feeling a little awkward with each other. They were both two kind of bearish guys. And one of them looked at the other one and roared.
Right.
I won't blow your ears off. And this loud roar. And the other one looked back, big smile, big roar. And they started roaring at each other and being these big bears that they were. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, the whole room was full of people crawling all over each other, scratching and patting and licking and mewling and purring and snarling. And it was great. It was just great. I've done this many times. And now there's always this silence that comes over the room when they all go, she wants me to do what? And then they go there and they discover this place. It's wonderful to play from a nonverbal place like that.
A nonverbal place, and a place that's not about presenting an identity and marketing,
Right.
Just in your body.
Yeah, you just follow how it feels. You become. I came out here in the Great Migration of 1967. And the whole movement, I dropped out of college when I was 18 because I went up to Harvard and I met Tim Leary and Dick Alpert and said, oh, this is the real stuff. Mm-hmm. What it was like at the time when people were fighting for civil rights and fighting, it wasn't until the very end of the 60s that we started thinking about women's rights and gay rights. That really is the early 70s.
Correct.
So there's a lot of politics that's very different from back then. And then there's another book that I'm working on that I'm teaching short workshops, which is to explore, and this is more of a Jungian therapy kind of book, the stories that people like to role play, the erotic stories that people enjoy. And sometimes the erotic stories are, Little Red Riding Hood and the Big Bad Wolf, right?
What's the title of that book? Do you know?
I'm probably going to call it Shadow Play.
Shadow Play, good name, yeah.
Yeah, it's sometimes called SM Journeys to Ourselves. And many people use erotic role play to work through personal or cultural trauma. Mm-hmm. A lot. There's a reason why there's daddies and littles and mommies all over the scene.
Yes.
And cultural trauma is also important. There's a place of saying, well, we stay with that and we learn what we find out from it. Mm. And there are forms of that I feel comfortable doing and forms of that I don't feel comfortable with. Like I actually have a friend I enjoy playing sexism with. What they want is to have this one dream come true, this one fantasy, often in all of its details. And the truth is that we can entertain lots of fantasies, lots and lots. And when I play with someone whose fantasy is different from me, then I gain something. I get to add something to my repertoire.
I'm going to share a quote that I once heard in a Taoist workshop. Respect, you lose nothing. Eventually, you gain everything. Disrespect, you gain nothing. Eventually, you lose everything.
Right.
For you.
Yeah, and it was kind of assumed about women back then, so it was kind of difficult. You know, ownership was not where that's at. There used to be a T-shirt in early feminism. The front said, my body is my own, and the back said, and I share. And the idea that this is about sharing and that we can share different things with lots of people just makes a more loving world, I think. So the issue comes to mind, as ethical people who care about other people, how much of a self are we allowed to have? So to have a certain amount of self is what you need to go into the world owning yourself and sharing with others.
Years ago, I taught a workshop called The Art of Selfishness.
Ah, good, yes, excellent. So we're on the same track
I'm
here.
with you. Yes, the art of selfishness, about putting yourself first. And we were taught that selfishness is a bad thing. So that's where that is important. And it is a provocative name, but I like to provoke. And I think it's good for people
Well, we use these words like we know what they mean. What does it mean if we call someone selfish? What does it mean if we call somebody needy? Is it okay to have needs? Are we allowed? That doesn't say anything about whether we have ethics about how we go about meeting our needs and our desires. This is an important principle for people who are trying to learn a new path with jealousy. It's kind of axiomatic in couples therapy that each person owns their own feelings. We go around saying, oh, you're making me angry. And I say, how often have any of us deliberately made somebody else angry? I mean, I try to avoid it, frankly. Results are usually unpleasant. So if we each make the commitment to owning our own emotions, then we can be kind to ourselves. We can learn how to take care of ourselves. We can ask for the support we want from other people as a consensual negotiation, saying, could you please give me a hug now? Knowing that if the person doesn't feel like giving a hug now, we'll find something else to do. And so we can get that kind of support. I think of it as getting support like a grown-up, although sometimes I'm getting it like a kid. But, you know, the principle comes from if I own myself, then I know where my boundaries are and I'm not inflicting my needs on other people.
I so appreciate your work, how you are helping the world to be a better place by helping people to claim all aspects of their sexuality, their darkness, their light, everything. Your travels around the world working with people, your books. Thank you. Thank you for doing all of that.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
This was Dossie Easton, author of the book The Ethical Slut. I'm Max van Praag. You are watching Private Matters, where we hope to inspire people all around the world to have happier and healthier intimate relationships. Thank you for watching.
Si vos escrevem, não está a escrever. Se vos esquecem, não está a esquecer. Até o dia que vou voltar. Se vos escrevem, não está a escrever. Se vos esquecem, não está a esquecer. Até o dia que vou voltar. Saudades, minha terra, São Nicolau. saudades, minha terra, São Nicolau.